Hello, all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. System Era, the developers of Astroneer, dropped a short teaser trailer for their next big update for the game, Megatech. The trailer only clocks in at 35 seconds, but there is a lot to unpack. Let's dive in and analyze the teaser trailer scene by scene. But first, let's jump to the Steam page for Megatech and see what it has to say. We will be able to build massive megastructure projects that will test our base building skills using new and existing technology. Each one has its own gameplay that unlocks new possibilities and rewards. The description promises to take base building and automation to a whole new level. The update will be compatible with existing saves as well, and we'll talk more about that toward the end of the video. This update will also include free content for all players that will allow us to create a single megastructure that will facilitate automated interplanetary transportation. Or, said another way, we can have resources and items moved from planet to planet automatically. Now, let's take a look at each scene of the teaser trailer. Things kick off with an Astroneer running up to an incredibly large habitat-style building that features an interior and even a nice sub-building off to the side that is serving as rover parking. You can spot numerous power cable plugs, a couple of control panels, and in the center of the dome, a large cylinder of some sort. The dark segments are giving off battery vibes, but that's just speculation on my part. That battery speculation isn't just a random guess based off a few dark bits on a cylinder though. If we look at this image from the Steam store page for the DLC, we see that the roof of this structure opens up and, from my best guess, functions as a huge solar array. A large battery to store that collected power when the sun is down would make sense. Then again, it could also just be a decorative part of the solar array itself. It's hard to say. In the background, just inside the left rear arch of the main structure, there is what appears to be a cacti plant from Calidor. It's too far away to really determine if that tappable plant is inside of the structure or planted just outside the opening. But it would be really cool if this habitat also functioned as a greenhouse of sorts, with places to plant various flora and perhaps even have some built-in automation to harvest and replant them, gathering seeds and limited time event items in the process. To get a sense of scale for this habitat, there is a large rover parked in the sub-building, so this thing is huge. There's also some sort of pipe dropping down into that sub-building, which makes me wonder if it has any functionality or if it's just decoration. The next scene takes us to Glacio, where we see a structure with landing pads for 3 shuttles, rail stations with some storage, and several different control panels. Look closer at this structure and you can see power cable plugs, which mean that this might require power, and you can also see target pins for reaction slots similar to those that we find on rail stations. The very next shot in the teaser gives us a quick peek at just one of the many control panels on this structure. This too is similar to what you'd find today on a rail station, though it references shuttles and specific landing pads. It looks like we'll be able to set up a shuttle loading mode, automation mode, and shuttle destination. I suspect the control panels nearest the center are for interacting with each landing pad, while the control panels on the mini rail stations are for setting up how the rail cars will function. If I had to guess, this is going to be the item that facilitates interplanetary delivery, and if it is, will be part of the free base building update for all players. Again, that's just speculation on my part based upon what I've seen in the trailer, on social media, and in the Astroneer Discord. If we zoom in a bit, we can also see a couple of items in the background. It was the single rail post that caught my eye, but then I noticed the round object on the ground in front of it. That might just be the usual small rocket we find crashed on the surface of planets that can contain resources or small objects, and maybe it just looks weird from this angle. But it almost looks like whatever that item is has a medium tier 2 attachment slot on the bottom of it. I don't know, maybe I'm looking for details where there aren't any, but this is one I'm going to keep in mind as more info about the update leaks. Though someone in the Vainglorious Discord said it just looks like an oxygenator to them. In the scene with the control panel, we see another object in the background that I believe is something we see a bit more closely in an upcoming scene. The teaser trailer then switches to Silva with a huge structure that resembles an observatory. The ring around the top appears to contain the same objects that you can also see stowed in the lower section. The angled round section is the part that really gives off the observatory vibes, as it resembles a lens or a signal receiver or transmitter of some sort. It also looks as though the upper portion of the dome is built in a way to allow that big lens or receiver to rotate around the entire structure. To the lower right is a large cylindrical area, and there might be one to the left as well. This is again pure speculation, but I wonder if this isn't where you can load or unload something for this structure. While we never get close enough to get a proper sense of scale, keep those stowed objects in mind because I'm pretty sure we'll see them again in just a minute. The trailer then takes us into space for what seems like the largest of the megastructures, what I'm going to call a space station for now. Though I did see on social media it was referenced as an orbiting platform. While it only appears on screen for a moment, we do see it again at the very end of the trailer, and it appears that it's anchored to Desolo, or at least some sort of terrain-based place with the same terrain colors as Desolo. Looking toward the back of this shot, it almost seems like that larger part of the structure might be some sort of engine or propulsion system, or maybe it's part of the system that anchors the space station to the moon. Jumping to the end of the trailer, we can see two of these larger bits, so maybe both of those guesses are right. Maybe they are engines that get the space station to its destination and also have some sort of clamp that keeps it secured to its target. Or maybe, as someone else suggested, they're just massive objects that automatically extract resources from whatever planet or moon you attach it to. That would be cool. Moving forward in this shot, the perimeter of the space station is lined with railings and what appears to be several small Tier 1 storage slots. And off to the left, we can see something rather familiar, the upper portion of a spaceport. You can find several of these on every planet and moon, typically surrounded by a small debris field. If we once again jump to the end of the trailer, it appears that 3 of them are attached to the space station with 2 more in space near it. And it almost looks like there might be one being created toward the side of the space station. Turning to speculation again, maybe my dream of having a spaceport that I can deploy where I want is finally coming true. Maybe they're created at the space station and then dispatched to the planets and moons of the Silva system. Or maybe that's wishful thinking. All I know is that the earlier shot doesn't look like the spaceport is actually connected to the space station, so who knows? If they do deploy at the space station only, it almost looks like there is room for 4 or 5 of them on each side of the station. We can once again get a bit of an idea of the scale of the space station though. Both the shuttle and the large rover look absolutely tiny in comparison to the rest of this structure. And well, if that is Desolo, and this thing wraps all the way around, yeah, it's huge. The very next scene takes us to Aatrox, where there are a couple of auto extractors and the new object we have not seen before. Sort of. It doesn't appear to be doing much, so there is no telling what it is or what it does. I do think this gives us some scale for the observatory earlier. Looking back to that shot, I believe that the new object we see on Aatrox is the same one that we see stowed on that observatory. I could be wrong, but they have a fairly similar appearance. If so, these things are almost 2 Astroneers tall, and yet, in the observatory, they look rather minuscule. That would lead me to believe that the observatory-looking object is also really big. The final shot before the trailer begins to wrap up is something that was already leaked on social media. It looks sort of like a landing pad, but not for shuttles. Instead, it appears it's a landing pad for this flying resource canister. I believe that resource canister is all new as well. Vainglorious Discord moderator Raisins pointed out that the shape of this flying canister is different from any existing resource canister. This platform has the small landing pad in the center, 5 large Tier 3 attachment slots, some power cable plugs, a single control panel, and a handy ramp. Once again, turning to speculation, I wonder if this platform will be used to send resources to the larger megastructures while they're under construction. Look closely at that flying canister and you see something familiar. Those brown bits look like the same elements we see on existing printers. So that's why I wonder if these resources aren't flying up to a project that is under construction and then using these printer style bits to help build megastructures. That flying canister also lacks any resource symbol to indicate what is inside, so I'm wondering if perhaps it is capable of carrying multiple different resources. Or maybe the lack of a symbol is just due to this being footage from something that is still in production and can very easily change before the update drops. The final scene of the teaser trailer is one we have already looked at. We can see the space station attached to a moon-sized destination and some shuttles flying around, with one on approach just as the title of the update drops. There isn't much here that we haven't already discussed, so let's move on to something that was not included in the trailer, but was leaked by System Era late last week. The icon signpost is clearly labeled as an in-progress concept, but it should be the solution a lot of people have been asking for. If these signposts have arrows along with the symbols for various resources and objects, they can go a long way to helping us guide other players to various destinations, and also serving as incredibly useful tools to help us remember where things are. Beacons are fine and all, but they don't really convey a lot of information. Was the red beacon for hematite, or the place I found some wreckage I want to come back to? I can't remember. If I can deploy some signposts, however, they could help trigger my memory. It'll be even better if these integrate into the compass as well. In fact, I'd be okay with them replacing beacons altogether, allowing the signpost to serve double duty as a line of sight signpost when you're near them, as well as providing a nav point on the compass that displays the same icon you chose for the signpost. I do not recall seeing any of these in the trailer, however, so we'll have to wait and see how deeply they are integrated into existing systems. So that is all of the details from the trailer and leaks on social media. Let's jump back to the description of the DLC from the Steam store page, zeroing in on one detail. This update is compatible with existing saves. I think System Era heard our feedback from glitchwalkers loud and clear. We did not like that the DLC took place in an entirely different save, making all of our progress in an existing save useless while we were on Aeolus. They call this out very clearly by saying, quote, "This DLC will be completely compatible with existing saves and builds off any progress you've already made in game, so feel free to start fresh or load up your existing saves and start building." That is very welcome news, as I, like many, were disappointed by that aspect of glitchwalkers. Plus, this will give me something to do with the hundreds and thousands of resources that I've automated production of in my main save. The final point I want to talk about briefly also comes from the Steam store page. At the very bottom of a short FAQ, they have a question asking how far into the game do you need to progress before starting with Megatech. The answer is that we will have access to the DLC as soon as we start a new game, but the majority of the new content will be mostly relevant once we have made a fair bit of progress. So it sounds like you can get to work on it right away, but it's really designed to be something you dig into once you have a solid base and probably even good automation going on. So that is everything from the teaser trailer and the signpost leak, and I somehow managed to talk about it this long. What I haven't yet mentioned is when and how much. The when part is easy and is right at the end of the trailer. November of this year. So only a couple of months away. But how much? Well, I have no idea. I would be surprised if it's more than $10, but it also seems to have a lot more replayability than glitchwalkers, so maybe it'll cost a bit more. All I know is, shut up and take my money. And that wraps it up for the details from the teaser trailer. Now it's your turn. Head down to the comments to tell me about the details you think I overlooked, or just jump onto the speculation bandwagon and begin guessing as to what all of these might be. Or maybe just leave an emoji that sums up your level of hype for the Astroneer Megastructures update. If you want to hang out in a smaller community that has a bunch of Astroneer players, hit up the Vainglorious Discord server link in the video description. And if you enjoyed today's video, please consider hitting the like button, and if you love high quality Astroneer content, then get subscribed. My channel is home to news analysis videos just like this one that covers not only social media leaks and trailers, but also information shared via System Era live streams. I also have a lot of great Glitchwalkers content, and I will have a full playthrough of everything in Megastructures once it drops. Plus, my channel is home to Astroneer Academy, which is, hands down, the best, most entertaining, and most comprehensive guide to Astroneer that you will ever find. You can find all of that on my channel, along with content from a variety of other games as well. Get subscribed so you don't miss any of it. And until next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.